I-26 male was dating a girl, 25 female from a university. At first, she was caring and loving, and it all went great during 6 months in the relationship until my finals showed up. That's when everything went to crap. Having my finals meant spending more time studying and preparing myself in certain classes that I was having a tough time in. And with the more time I spent studying, I spent less time with her at first. When I had that talk with her, she seemed to understand, considering I'm pursuing a chemistry engineering major, while she's aiming for a hospitality management degree. And according to her, she was going to after a much easier degree, and she didn't mind. So we stopped seeing each other for about a week and a half. We would text occasionally during that time, but not as much as we used to one night that I was finishing up some work that I needed to get done. She texted me talking about this one friend she had for privacy. I'll call him Brian. According to her, he's a good friend and generally a good guy. He's pretty much of an extrovert with a wide social circle, while I'm the total opposite, being an introvert with a very closed social group of people who I call friends. And the rest of people I know are mere acquaintances. After my finals, we spent more time together, but it was always Brian this and Brian that. So at first it was weird, but it got to the point that I was fed up. So one day as a joke I said, "What do you want to date him? Or why are you always talking about him?" You can guess she didn't take it as a joke, and instead she acted offended, even implying that I was accusing her of cheating. That's what all the dots started to connect. If there isn't something going on, then why was she suddenly all defensive and upset? But I guess I decided to wait to get actual proof week after week. She would cancel the plans at the last minute if I was lucky. She stood me up on my birthday, since we were supposed to meet at a restaurant, along with my dad to celebrate. Even my roommate at the time asked me if I was okay. She saw me upset a lot of those times, and even talked to me after a few months. One day I told my ex to meet at a coffee shop prior to that. During the whole week, I behaved like an a-hole. I was already mentally preparing myself to pull away from that relationship. When she got to the coffee shop, she tried to give me a kiss. But I just pulled away. She asked what was wrong. And I just said I already know. It was a thing my dad would always say to me when I was hiding something, and it worked well to make people say the truth. As soon as I said I already know, and she saw my face dead serious, she looked down and said, "Who told you?" was it. Kev is my closest friend, and even if he did tell me, I would basically ignore it. So I just said maybe, but I want to hear it from you. And she just started crying and saying how much she was sorry, that she didn't mean to hurt me, and that she had only been seeing Brian for 2 months. I wanted to cry, to yell at her, to be angry, but I couldn't. It's a truth I was already aware of. So I just asked, how did this happen? And her story went like we were at a party from one of our mutual friends when you had finals. And I was pretty upset because you didn't pay attention to me. So when Brian saw me upset, he talked with me. And he made me feel safe and loved. Even if you did make me feel safe and loved, it was different and I liked it. After that, we hooked up, and later we began seeing each other every weekend. When she said those things, it felt like if someone had punched me in the stomach. I felt sick. She tried to apologize, and she said that we could still make it work, but I've already known that it was not possible. So I told her to enjoy the last coffee she was going to share with me, because it was the last. I paid for both the coffees, and I left not saying goodbye that night. I called my dad and talked about it with him. I never asked my dad for any advice in this situation, but he just told me that what's not meant to be will never be, and that it was best to try not to store any negative feelings against her or the guy. So he just quoted his favorite artist by saying, quote, "How beautiful is revenge when God grants it to us." And quote, recently one of her friends told me that she ended up getting pregnant from Brian with him refusing to take any responsibility from the kid. And she told me that I should be careful since my ex was telling her parents that it was my kid. Even though he broke up more than a year ago right now, I decided to just go with the flow of life. It took me a while to get over it, but I made it. And well, now I'm dating my former roommate, which is kind of funny. Thank you for reading now. Let's get some community comments first up, handled like a boss. Everyone would like to have a mic drop moment. And you got it. Good luck. Someone else says, funny how things turn out, isn't it? In the end, she got nobody and will probably end up yet another single mum working a job she hates and dating scumbags who don't give a dang about her. Good for you on having the integrity and self-respect to get rid of such a toxic person in the future. Never date any woman who has that closet guy friend. Women who say, oh, all my friends are guys and I've never cheated on my boyfriend are full of crap. Her giant mouth gave her away. You were right at any time someone gets defensive like that, they have something to hide. It was extremely pathetic of her to turn to the first person who gave her a little bit of attention, while you weren't feeding that ego of hers. Instead, you were out there grinding for your dreams and goals. You're far too good for her op. And her choices took her exactly where she was meant to be. Update. So it's been a few days, and I got a call from my ex-father-in-law saying that I was a coward for leaving his daughter pregnant and leaving because she was going to drop out because of me. So I just told him that it was impossible that the kid was mine, since we had broken up a while ago. That's when he told me that apparently the ex was still saying that we were together. So I just said no, the crap storm didn't stop there. As for yesterday, on my morning jog, I saw Brian. We looked at each other and he walked up to me. He said that he needed advice from someone who doesn't like him at all, because he was afraid of facing the parenthood. So I just told him to face it and be there for his kid, because the poor thing didn't have the blame for the circumstances, and I woke up today because my car had been vandalized. I managed to get some of the CCTV and, well, it's been crap. Way to start the year. I guess one more comment from the community. Even if you have to pay for the repairs, it's still better than the price. You would pay in mental anguish alone if you had stuck it out. You still did the right thing, and it just goes to show how immature she really is. Did you tell the ex's dad who the father was? Stick to your guns. It'll get better. The comments are right. Opt better to be left with a little bit of vandalism than with that ex of yours. She's someone else's problem now. What do you think our next op takes the dirty details to the grave? Wife had an affair with our 22-year-old female babysitter. I'm 40, she's 35, and we have 2 young kids, 2 and 4. We hit a tough spot in her marriage last October, and she pulled away big time. She told me she's never been fully in love with me and never desired me sexually for several months. I couldn't figure out what had happened. Both sides of the family were confused and said go to therapy to fix it. Last February, she admitted to hooking up with a guy in December and that she's been in an emotional affair with our 22-year-old female babysitter who is still in college. But I later found out it wasn't an emotional one, it was sexual since last October. I noticed huge changes in behaviour, buying clothes, changing music, getting waxed twice a month, changing her passwords, etc. She dyed her hair. Black, got a tattoo, on a nose ring. Her girlfriend grew up in the ghetto, so it's an odd pairing, completely different backgrounds when she was on vacation last March to visit her friend in Miami. I found out she brought her girlfriend along while packing up to move out. I found her Apple Watch when I picked it up. A message just popped up. I opened it and it read, "Please print my confirmation info for luggage." 15 minutes before that. My wife walked out the door and took an Uber to the airport, Miami bound. But she was also going with her girlfriend. It took me an hour to scroll to the first message and discovered these two were texting lovey stuff since early November. They got tattoos of each other's first initials on their wrists. My wife went from listening to Florence and the Machines to Toosie. It's wild stuff, but I'm chalking it up as a midlife crisis. Or maybe personality disorder. I filed for divorce. Update: divorce finalised 2 months ago. We divided all assets 50-50, child custody is 50-50. She kept the house and has the girlfriend living there, and has introduced the girlfriend to her parents as her new partner when they visited a few weeks back. The reason why no is because I was too curious and drove by one night, and the girlfriend's car was parked there at midnight while her parents were staying. There too, talk about moving quickly. Co-parenting is fine, but she still texts me a lot about kid stuff. Last November, she texted me, 24 of the 30 days she came by a few weeks ago to grab something, and her dad got out of the car to meet me. I stuck out my hand and shook as he seemed really embarrassed, as he was reluctant to make eye contact. Then, as I went back inside, he said, "It's good to see you. Life still sucks, but it does get better, better. I've not gotten back into dating because I feel it's best to take time off, heal and recover from what I've read. Jumping into quick relationships is like taking antibiotics and alcohol. It won't kill you, but you'll walk away effed up." I never did tell her that I found her Apple Watch, and I'm aware of all the texting they did and the dirty details of deceit. I'm taking that to the grave, as it won't fix anything. I never shared those with her family either, because they pretty much know she is trash. Honestly, relationships to start in the way that and her new girlfriends don't tend to last, because it's someone searching for something outside of themselves. Instead of going inwards and reflecting on who they are as a person, they jump into an affair and a new shiny thing that distracts from what is really the problem. Either way, I'm sorry this all happened to you, OP, but you're right, it does get better. Do you have a similar story? Share it with us in the comments below. Lastly, a 4-year dry spell ends for this op-cheating ex-wife remarried and had a baby, and it re-triggered all I went through my cheating ex-wife, and I divorced in 2017. She abandoned our marriage for her heir partner and never looked back in 2021. After 4 years of no contact, she called me out of the blue and apologized for everything she put me through and said she was in therapy for childhood trauma and that I was the best thing that ever happened to me. She started a business the year we divorced that I helped her get off the ground, and when she contacted me in 2021, she sent me a screenshot of her business account, and it had almost $140,000 in there. It was evident her business was flourishing, and I had a twinge of jealousy. She asked me what she would do with the money. Because I was always good at investing, I told her I'd start by paying half of the divorce fees and lawyer fees she left me holding the bag for, because I funded the entire divorce just to get out of the unfair situation. By the time I divorced, she was living with her affair partner anyways. To my astonishment, she immediately Venmo'd me the money for her half, and also an additional $500 for taking care of our dog. She abandoned as well. Over the course of a few days, she was attempting to further contact me, and I told her I'm glad she's getting the help she needed, but she violated everything sacred about her marriage. And to stop contacting me, she obeyed my request, and I have never heard from her again. I figured at that time the relationship with her fair partner finally ended, which was why I was hearing from her. All that said, I saw her in church, the very church we met, and started our relationship with her new husband and baby. The new husband was not her affair partner. It seems she's gotten her life together and has it all figured out now. While I am happy, she has turned her life around. I can't help but wonder why I wasn't good enough for her to stop her affair before destroying our marriage. Why didn't she just return to her matrimonial home? Which is what I so desperately wanted at the time. She completely destroyed the essence of who I am, and I have never been the same. Since it still hurts to think about what she did to me almost 7 years ago. Got a couple comments from the community, wonder why I wasn't good enough for her to stop her affair before destroying our marriage. It's not that she weren't good enough, it's that she was. That broken, her actions were a result of her insufficiencies. Not yours, it took years to heal. And she did reach out to you when she did. You were enough that she tried to make amends. That's significant. She acknowledged your worth and apologized. Her shortcomings are not a reflection of your worth. Her hindsight attempts at amends would be a more accurate assessment. Someone else chimes in, bro, you got her half of the expenses back, take the win, and start looking forward. That's what the divorce is for, to leave an undesirable, untenable situation in search of something better. It's normal to grieve. But if you spiral and spend your time in the past, waste your opportunity. In my opinion, someone else has a bit to say. This will sound stupid, but hear me out. Be grateful you got away from someone who did something like that to you. And find it within yourself to be okay that she sought help for her issues and is seemingly happy now because the cheating are her issues. While I'm hesitant to say she's completely changed in 4 years, as that's not a huge amount of time to have left a marriage for an affair. Partner broke up with that affair partner that meets someone else, had a baby, and married them all. In 4 years is a lot. Especially with the intense therapy required to sort through her issues. The fact she, if I read correctly out of the blue, sent you a screenshot of her bank account shows how immature she is. That's a strange bragging thing to do to an ex. You traumatized, but the plus is she paid you. It's not fair that you were a casualty in her journey to become a better person. I understand if you feel cheated again that her life has turned out okay, but small victories are that she seems remorseful to the point of getting help, and she didn't end up with the affair. Partner, most cheaters don't have any self-reflection at all. These people are unapologetic, have zero remorse, and sometimes more times than I like to see end up with their affair partners and think the pain they caused you was worth it. It's been 4 years. She shouldn't be able to contact you anymore. From a start, unless you share a child, this person isn't in your life anymore. You should have no idea what she's doing. And honestly, if you see her in public, don't engage as much as possible. Say hello, how are you, whatevers, and move on. Good luck, whatever epiphany she's going through is great and all, but you're right. It doesn't take back what she did to you. And it can't be retroactive what's already been said and done. It's unfair of her to come back and suddenly put this on you and think that it's just all okay when it's just digging up all of this hurt and trauma that she did to you. You did nothing wrong here, and things like this take time to heal. The healing process doesn't just end overnight. The healing journey is an ongoing process. We can drive ourselves mad with the questions and the what-ifs. You've got the future to look forward to, don't let the past distract from the now. Update, this is the best community on Reddit. I know the holidays are hard for so many of us, those who have been betrayed in various ways. By our partner and now ex-partners. I was divorced several years ago, and the holidays are still difficult, especially because she moved out to live with her affair partner during this time of the year. Just dropping a quick note that I appreciate all of you, even though I only recently found the community, and I wish I had known of it several years earlier, because reading the stories have made me realize we are not alone.